Welcome to the Block Exploring Podcast, your first step into the world of crypto and blockchain. The Block Exploring Podcast is your one-stop place to find quick, clear, and unbiased information on everything in the crypto space. Our goal is to help you grow familiar with the crypto space by growing along with us as we go on our crypto journeys. Follow at Block Exploring on Twitter for our newest uploads and our publishing schedule. We, here at Block Exploring, are crypto enthusiasts working hard towards becoming experts. Today's podcast is presented by co-hosts Tommy and Elias. Find us on Twitter under @SabaiSquared and @OtokoCrypto. Right now you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Before we start the episode, we would like to inform you that we are not financial advisors. Therefore, nothing said in this podcast should be considered financial advice. Always contact your financial advisor before making any investment. With that said, sit back and enjoy today's podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's episode 3 of News Bytes. Today we'll be talking to you about the Bitcoin sellout, the Ethereum all-time high, and blockchain consortiums. So, to kick it off, you all have been experiencing this, but Bitcoin has been dipping and going a bit horizontal recently. Lowest point in 48 days. I think it was below a median score or like a medium level over the past 100 days that it hit halfway through this week. What's happening, Tommy?
Well, yeah, this definitely happened. Bitcoin broke below 50K, which is like a huge psychological support line. You know, people like round numbers. And there you go, 50K is a round number. So we broke past that. So that's scary for many crypto YouTubers. You know, they hit the panic button and, you know, you got the clickbait, YouTube videos. But yeah, it's hard to say what this really means for Bitcoin. And alongside Bitcoin, we saw other cryptocurrencies also having sharp selling days. Yeah, XRP and Ether were down 13%, 7%. I mean, Ether actually reached all-time highs. But yeah. So it really was a Bitcoin that was having this kind of dip. And I don't know. What would you say is happening? Because, all the headlines I've been seeing are crash, 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 crash. Yeah. But I feel like crash is such a harsh word. You know what I mean? Like, I want to reserve crash for, like, bear market times, dude. When bear market hits, like, that's when we can throw the word crash around. But until we're all like, until we're seeing lower lows, like, can we really say crash? Like, we can talk about dips maybe, or maybe that's just me like holding on to like some bullish sentiment. I don't know what you think.
No, I think that this it's just taking profits right now, and I think there's a bit of fear happening around regulation, but also I think one of the things that went through my head before this week was whenever the Doge Bump was happening, it's like a random coin, right? And it feels a bit like people just want to buy anything that says that it has a high return on investment, anything that has a high speculative value. And I think to some that might feel like the beginning of the mania in this cycle, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So just a very almost like tulips, right. Like, get my hands on any that I can get. And I think that the people who have been holding Bitcoin for a longer term are selling off because they think, okay, for now, this is the peak, the top is in. I personally don't think that this is the case right now because there is so much development that is still set to happen in this coming year. If you look at CoinMarketCap, for instance, there's a lot of big projects out there having major updates. And I don't think that would take away from the crypto space right now. So I personally don't think that, and this is, it's a bit of, research, but it's also sentiment. I don't feel like people are ready to call quits on this bull market.
No, me neither. I feel like people really think it could go on for a bit like longer, but there's just a lot of newbies, I guess you can say, newcomers to the space, unicyclers, that are yeah, they've just come in fresh in 2021 into the crypto space, and they just haven't experienced, a major crypto crash before, or like, these different market fluctuations. So I would
Yeah.
caution people, I mean, not financial advice, but to, tread carefully, just watch what you feel comfortable with. Don't like just buy into, people pumping up the bull market, or people, or the other way around either. You should really define for yourself what is a comfortable level to be in this market, and what's, because people always talk about diamond hands, but if you're have if you're over invested in something, you know and you're diamond handsing and then it crashes, like, you're the one who's screwed in,
Yeah,
holding bags in the end. So you really have to evaluate for yourself, I feel,
that's true.
where you are in the market.
Yeah, and I also feel like people are buying, or the newer investors are buying peaks a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And then, of course, that would be the first advice. Don't buy all-time highs, or don't buy during major peaks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I think, this is what I would guess. When I started out putting some money into crypto, I would panic sell because I saw the price fluctuate like I've never seen any stock or bond fluctuate in price. And I mean, I not that I trade stocks or bonds, but you usually see returns of moderate, like 3%. Oh, the stock market was down 2.5%. You
Mm-hmm.
see that on the Financial Times, and that's reported as like it's like a bad day for the market. If you look at, I don't know, any altcoin, today it can be up 40%, tomorrow it can be down 60%, and people who are newcomers into the space aren't used to that. And especially with the buy-ins that have been happening
Mm-hmm.
recently with Bitcoin, I think you can expect this dip to have a lot of panic selling happening on the end of the retail investor, and especially the new retail investor.
Definitely. Another sort of aspect to this whole Bitcoin sell-off is Bitcoin losing its dominance within the
Yeah,
crypto market. I believe it's slipped 50% for the first time since 2018. Yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, what that tells us is that a lot of people are investing in altcoins.
mm-hmm.
And does this mean alt season is here? Maybe not. Maybe it is. That's, I mean, for whoever to decide. You guys are also block explorers. You can figure it out. Do your own research. But yeah, I don't know if this signals altcoin season. Might do. I mean, we might have already been in altcoin season.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing.
yeah, what I've been seeing is I mean, there's just a lot of random projects, a lot of new meme coins, meme
Yeah,
tokens booming, and
everywhere.
this is a bit scary to me. These tokens with no utility, and people are just aping in, yeah, FOMOing into meme coins, because they think they can get some exponential gains, and it's just a bit. It's not great for the space when things become scammy. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel the same. I made a tweet a few days ago.
Mhm.
I said that there's a lot of celebrities I noticed on my feed getting into, well, decentralized projects. Let's just call it that. And I feel like that draws in a lot of new investors.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, yeah, maybe start, taking profits a bit slowly.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that that also adds kind of to these fluctuations we've seen. There's definitely a lot of new money coming in, and especially going towards altcoins. I don't know if, I mean,
Which
there's
in
a few
itself, it's not
things.
a bad thing, right? Like,
No,
there are loads of legitimate projects in the crypto blockchain space. It's just people just need to be careful in what they're investing in, because they can really, it's risky. Like, investing in altcoins is almost like investing in penny stocks,
yeah,
right? This is almost, for me, in my mind, the same risk.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. And I think what I see here is that there's a lot of, people have a big urge to get those like ridiculous payoffs, like the 50x or 10x
Right.
kind of rewards, and they see that happen in altcoins,
Mhm.
right? So I feel like that's why the flow is there. So
I definitely get
yeah,
the allure. It's just, be careful, people. be careful. I feel like, in the end of this podcast, maybe that's the main takeaway, that
Yeah,
people should just be careful. But, that's why I think we should just emphasize as well education, and like really take
yeah,
your time to learn for yourself, what's happening in the markets and why, and for yourself why. I mean, you shouldn't be taking advice from people on YouTube, financial
hmm
advice. You shouldn't be, if you're taking advice from us on this podcast, you should also get checked, you know like it's just not, something you should be doing, but rather investing with your own conviction and,
yeah.
solid basis.
No, but that's what I indeed. And if you look at, I don't know, I just wanted to make one more statement
Hmm.
on this topic before we move on.
Yeah.
If you look at what you mentioned, the psychological support line, right? You have these kinds of barriers that people start coining, and they say, okay, well, this is a big deal if it crosses this. I feel like it's very similar with like the people who are big into technical analysis of like movement and everything. At the end of the day, I feel like it's a bit of, astrology for the crypto space, for chart movements. I feel like you should always see, maybe it's me with a bit more of a conservative view on this, but look at if the project is good rather than what is the movement exactly, you know?
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that these things like the psychological support line, sure, it's like a thing because we like big numbers and like round numbers, but I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal if it dips below 50K. It's just something that happens,
Hmm.
I'd say. Maybe I'm this desensitized to
Yeah, maybe
at this point,
maybe
but
that's
like,
it.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that before we moved on. Because just, look at yourself. Don't per se look at what other people are doing with their money.
No, no, that's a fair point, man. And it's a good point
Yeah,
to make. But let's move on to, second biggest token coin in the space,
a bit more
Ether.
positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ether has reached all-time highs recently,
Yes,
so it
sir.
crossed the 2,600 USD mark, which
Yep.
is just, yeah, massive. It's always massive when, tokens like coins like Ether and Bitcoin reach all-time highs, because
Yeah.
that just means good things for the space. It means, yeah, because usually when new people come into the space, they just gravitate towards, Bitcoin and ETH. So
Mm.
that's really great. And but interestingly enough, alongside this news is the, news of the rise. I mean, not the rise, because Binance Smart Chain is here, thoroughly here, and a thorough part of our ecosystem, right? And
Yeah.
Pancake Swap is the biggest AMM on the Binance Smart Chain, and Binance and Pancake Swap in 24 hours actually surpassed the total transactions across the Ethereum network, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty insane, I think.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
Also,
If
yeah,
you trade on Pancake Swap, it costs you what, like 3 or 4 cents. If you trade on the
yeah, it might be
Ethereum
like 50
blockchain,
50 cents.
is it now 50? Okay. Well,
Yeah, maybe, yeah,
whenever I
something.
made my first trade on the Binance
Yeah.
Smart Chain, it was really a negligible amount, you
Yes.
know. And if you look at now Ether, that's the gas fees.
Hmm.
That's a pretty big thing that they need to fix. And
Especially with all-time high, like that
yeah,
just completely blows the gas fees, like, oh,
yeah,
blows the roof off. That thing. But yeah,
indeed.
I mean, just totally makes sense why, Pancake Swap or the rest of Binance Smart Chain is really booming at the moment. I mean, there's loads of drawbacks to Binance Smart Chain, but for the moment, like,
There's loads of ideological drawbacks, I would say, to the Binance Smart Chain
yeah,
right now. It
definitely
kind of,
ideological. But also I was listening to another podcast today, and they were really going into the technical drawbacks of Binance Smart Chain, and talking about how the reason why they're able to have such low gas fees in on Binance Smart Chain is because of their block size is just massive. Like, they're apparently processing like terabytes of data each block,
Wow.
which is pretty intense and unsustainable if when a centralized entity is running it.
Yeah.
And the fear is that it can actually collapse onto itself. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, aside from a ideological standpoint, which, yeah, there's loads. I mean, decentralization and all that good stuff, like, you know Binance Smart Chain just doesn't hold a candle to Ethereum
No.
in that respect.
Yeah.
But it's really a problem that V2 hasn't come out yet. The gas fees are the way they are, and because it prices out the smaller investors.
Yeah. It's not worth it. If you want to move 100 euros worth of Ethereum, you're paying that equivalent to move it.
Yeah.
So there's no way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we dabble in both, because I mean, it's just good to experience what the market has to offer. And yeah, for those who don't know, Pancake Swap is the first $1 billion project to launch on Binance Smart Chain, which is just insane to say. The price of cake has really shot up this year, so it's gone up 4,500% since the start of 2021.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent project, if I but they have I think one of the biggest criticisms of Pancake Swap is that they have an anonymous dev team, and so people don't like that. But
people don't like that.
I feel like they've proven themselves to not be a rug pull.
Yeah, I think there's also I don't think there's a big issue with anonymity, or at least pseudonymity. As a being a developer, there's just, you need to cross a higher barrier of trust with the people who are buying your token.
Right.
And the moment it's sustained, like, look at banks, you don't know who really owns the banks. There's not like you have a picture on the Twitter of I don't know, like name a large bank like Bank of America. It's not like they have the entire board of directors and their Instagrams.
Right.
It's not like you see that. It's just you put trust, and you put that trust into a project, and that's, I think, what gives it its value. And even with an anonymous dev team, I feel like you can, as long as they don't do anything illegal, as long as they remain that trust, retain it, I think that it's fine.
And I think,
but people tend to not like it because it's often associated with rug pulls and exit schemes. That's not what you like.
No, it's definitely not. And I think for long-term investors who, I mean, generally as a rule, a lot of people feel like dev teams are just sus. But I think maybe long-term investors who really get into the different projects and really understand these high trust thresholds that different projects try to impose. I mean, not impose isn't the right word, but put into play. These investors really do build a trust with the dev team. I think if they do that, like to a greater extent, I think it's really beneficial, and it's actually fine.
Yeah, and I was telling you, right, over the week, I was talking to you about like Tesla. I was saying, what if you have a moment where Elon Musk, for some reason, either he dies or he gets taken out of the board, or he loses all his shares, or he loses his mind, that would negatively affect the share price of Tesla. Like, whatever you do, you're buying a bit of Elon when you're buying Tesla. Yeah. Right? You're buying the spice, you're buying the character behind the machine and the stock. And if you have that with, and this is what I'm thinking, if you have that with a platform, or, like, let's say Ethereum, let's say Vitalik loses his mind, that will negatively affect the price of ETH. Well, let's say you have an anon or a pseudonymous developer. If he does something weird, as long as it's not on his public profile, if he loses his marbles, you might never know about it, which is a double-edged sword. But at the end of the day, it can also take a more decentralized shape, because you're not looking at people. You're purely looking at the tech. You're purely
Right.
looking at whatever platform or token or coin you're investing in.
Right, which I think people should be just doing in general. Like, yeah, people like to say, yeah, we're in it for the tech, but really, yeah, try to understand the tech, because that's
Try
really what,
to.
yeah, try to, because I mean, not everyone's going to be an expert in this,
No.
that, the other, but yeah, if you try to understand the tech, you understand the utility of this token or coin that you're buying, and then you have an informed opinion as to why you're investing. Then you're not panic selling randomly.
Yeah. But I think there's also a big issue with the way white papers are often structured now, and
Hmm.
especially I think people who are in tech tend to be, a bit short through their, like, they don't like explaining too much. They find the tech speaks for itself, or
Yeah,
you should know this, or the project, or like if you don't know about tech, don't invest in Bitcoin or in blockchain related,
which is just
products.
not the attitude.
That's like saying if you're not a doctor, don't invest in Pfizer. You know, I don't think that that's the way to deal with people, with investors, especially if you want mass adoption. So, sure, I mean, I've read so many white papers that I just do not understand. Like, biggest example is, Hollow, the ticker HOT. I tried to read that white paper and they explain something about an agent-centered blockchain. I'm still figuring out what that means, but I know that it has some sort of value, but I couldn't tell you what it is. And that's because the white paper honestly does a crap job at explaining it. And luckily, there's some videos online that, are people with actual explanation skills who can get you through them. But I think the white papers in general should be more accessible to a non-tech crowd if you want that mass adoption, if you truly want that vision of decentralize the world.
Yeah.
Then you should write a white paper that involves a non-expert, a non-technical person like yours truly.
No, definitely, I definitely agree with you on that point. But let's
No,
talk about this cooperation, cross-border cooperation in the blockchain space. So there's
very
this
interesting.
article that came out this week talking about a new ASEAN um, blockchain consortium that's working towards cross-border cooperation on blockchain technology. So let's get into that. So blockchain associations from Australia and 5 southeastern nations are joining forces to promote blockchain and development and education on blockchain. So these organizations are from Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and they've signed a memorandum of understanding, to promote blockchain collaboration in the Asia Pacific. And I think this is just great to see that big players within the blockchain space, or these groups and associations, are collaborating to really
Yeah,
look towards educating on a mass scale, promoting the development of blockchain across borders. And I assume this will then seep into trying to move regulation in a way that's conducive towards innovation and
yeah,
allowing people the freedom to access blockchain technology and the multitude of use cases that come with it.
yeah. And I think definitely the fact that the focus is so heavy on education there, that's
Mhm.
extremely positive. Because I'm a student, you were a student.
Yeah,
Um,
student for
I've been
life.
looking at student for life, but
Yeah.
I've been looking at ways to expand my knowledge on crypto and blockchain in a more formal way, in a more university type of way, to get a degree or to get some sort of certificate that I can say, okay, I'm actually someone who knows something about blockchain. But it's impossible to do right now because there are barely any programs, there are barely any, yeah, actual certified methods of gaining more knowledge about the blockchain space. And this initiative, I think, for a very long term view, would be extremely positive, making it more formalized, making it a bit more structured, a bit less just watch as many YouTube videos as you can to teach yourself all you can know about blockchain. I think that's extremely positive, and I think it's very good that especially countries like the organizations from Singapore and the Philippines do this, because that's where I feel like most of these altcoins especially have their like LLC registrations. So it's good that it's coming from the source, with the source being where the tax is the lowest. But it's very nice.
Not that like you shouldn't be learning completely on YouTube, because there's so much to gain, and I feel like most of our knowledge comes from there, right, Elias?
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, I feel like this should just be taking place in other places as well, like Europe. How nice would that be if you know, cross-border collaboration, you know, to get the EU to figure it out, you know, not be so bearish on crypto and weird about it, you know, they can bully Turkey into you know, allowing people to pay crypto. That would be nice, you know, at least for the Turkish people. And yeah, in America, I feel like we see this to some degree where, I mean, not so much that like different associations are collaborating, but that companies like Binance US, a previous commissioner on the SEC is now on their board. So like different companies are sort of onboarding these people who were previously in regulatory roles. It's sort of I don't know, sucking them in, if that in some sense, and then, you know, in that way, you know, absorbing their influence, absorbing their knowledge of the regulatory system, and absorbing so their connections, and maybe that leads to, you know, more favorable regulation for the blockchain space.
That's true, but you know, of course, it will be a long road to get a government that is centralized to adopt a decentralized currency.
100%.
That's like telling a soccer player to play tennis overnight.
Do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that point. You know, it's just, but I think it's nice that then these companies are taking a sort of long-term view and are being strategic in some sense about their future. Yeah, it's definitely something we need. More cross-border collaboration, because I feel nothing gets done if people just, you know, get on their island and want to protect whatever they think is cool. But this is why it's so important for people in this space to engage with communities, talk to other people, like build connections, because this is how you build stuff. This is how you build, you know, projects, communities, like develop a space, and like that's just how things work in this world, through collaboration, through expression. And this is what we need in the crypto blockchain space, which we have a lot of, but more, you know, more.
Couldn't agree more.
There's never enough of that, you know, which is why we have, you know, this platform that we're trying to build, where we talk to each other, and, you know, we want people to engage with us as well. We're always going to look for ways for people to engage with us on this platform as well, and that's why we also ask for community engagement, you know, and feedback. So block explorers, please feel free, you know, to give us feedback.
Give us your feedback. We need it. We'd love to interact with you guys, and we'd love to incorporate your ideas into the show. So don't be shy. Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up in the comments, drop a like, you know, and just keep tuning in. I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
For this
it's all good.
This week's episode of News Bytes. So have a nice week.
Yep, take it easy.
Keep block exploring.